The snow falls in thick, silent sheets across the French Alps. Each flake catches the dying light of winter sun, creating a world that sparkles like scattered diamonds on white velvet. It's beautiful, this landscape. Peaceful, even. The kind of scene that might grace a holiday postcard in another time, another world. But you're not looking at a postcard. You're standing on a ridge 15,000 years ago, and the beauty around you is a lie, because beauty in the Pleistocene is always hungry. Your breath forms clouds in the bitter air. Your hands, wrapped in fur mittens that still smell of the animal they came from, grip a spear shaft carved from mammoth ivory. The point has been napped from flint with the patience of someone who knows that one poorly placed strike could mean death. Your death specifically. Next to you, 5 other humans crouch in the snow. Their eyes scan the valley below with the intensity of creatures who understand that being prey is always just one mistake away. But you're not alone up here. You haven't been alone for generations now. Because padding silently through the snow beside your hunting party are 6 wolves, their yellow eyes locked on the same target that has your attention. In the valley below, a cave bear tears apart the remains of a reindeer. This bear stands 11 feet tall when it rears on its hind legs. Its claws are longer than your fingers. Its jaw can crush mammoth bones like you might snap a twig. It weighs as much as 3 modern grizzlies combined, and right now, it's blocking access to the cave system your tribe calls home. The bear has claimed your territory, your shelter. Your children are huddled in temporary lean-tos a day's march away, and winter is deepening. Without that cave, without the stored food and warm sleeping spaces, half your tribe won't see spring. So you're going to kill it. You and 5 other humans and 6 wolves are going to take down a creature that could swat any one of you aside like an annoying insect. The mathematics shouldn't work. The physics seem impossible. Evolution has built this bear to be an apex predator, a master of its domain. But evolution has also built something else, something unprecedented in the history of life on Earth. It has built a partnership between 2 species that should have been competitors. 2 species that should have been fighting each other for scraps instead of coordinating like fingers on the same hand. Your pack leader gives the signal. The wolves spread out along the ridge with the fluid precision of water flowing around stones. They know their roles in what comes next. They've done this before. You all have. The attack begins with misdirection. 2 wolves burst from the tree line below, snarling and snapping at the bear's legs. The massive creature roars and swipes, but the wolves are already gone, dancing backward just beyond reach of those terrible claws. The bear pursues them, its attention completely focused on these immediate threats, which is exactly what you've been waiting for. 3 humans emerge from concealment above the cave entrance, spears ready. The bear, focused on the wolves below, doesn't see them until the first stone-tipped weapon punches through the thick fur of its shoulder. It spins, roaring in pain and fury, just as the second wave of wolves attacks from behind. This is coordination beyond anything the natural world has seen before. This is 2 different species thinking as one mind, moving as one body, killing as one perfectly synchronized machine. The bear falls. It takes 20 minutes of careful, coordinated attacks, but it falls. And as it breathes its last, your tribe's children are already making their way back to the warm caves that will keep them alive through the deepest months of winter. You stand over the massive corpse, your wolf companions panting beside you. There's blood on your spear, blood on their muzzles. The partnership has worked again. The alliance has held. But here's what you don't know. Standing there in the snow with the taste of victory in your mouth, here's what no one could have known on that winter day 15,000 years ago. This partnership, this unprecedented cooperation between human and wolf, will change everything. It will make your species the most successful hunters in the history of the planet. It will allow you to spread across continents, to adapt to every environment, to become masters of the earth. But even man's best friend could not save the giants, because this alliance, perfect though it may seem, beautiful though it appears in moments like these, carries within it the seeds of the greatest extinction event since the asteroid that killed the dinosaurs. The cave bear you've just killed is among the last of its kind. The mammoth whose ivory tips your spear will be gone within 5,000 years. The giant ground sloths, the saber-toothed cats, the dire wolves, all of them will vanish. And standing over that bear's body, surrounded by your wolf companions, you are witnessing the beginning of the end of the Ice Age giants. You just don't know it yet. Are you ready to discover how humanity's greatest friendship became the natural world's greatest nightmare? How two species learned to love each other so well that they forgot to leave room for anyone else? Then let's go back. Let's go back to the beginning, when humans and wolves were strangers sharing the same brutal world. Let's discover how the most unlikely partnership in natural history began. Imagine waking up tomorrow morning to find that every single thing that wants to eat you has gotten bigger. The spiders in your basement are now the size of dinner plates. The wasps in your garden have wingspans like small birds. The neighbourhood dogs have grown to the size of horses, and they're all very, very hungry. Welcome to the Pleistocene. Population, everything with teeth. 40,000 years ago, being human meant accepting that you were on the menu. You weren't at the top of the food chain. You weren't even particularly close to the top. You were somewhere in the uncomfortable middle, wedged between occasional predator and frequent prey, like an anxious sandwich filling. Cave lions prowled territories the size of modern countries, their roars echoing across valleys where no human dared to venture alone. Short-faced bears stood 13 feet tall and could outrun a racehorse. Dire wolves hunted in packs of 30 or 40, their jaws designed to crush the leg bones of animals that wouldn't fit in your living room. And that was just the predators. The plant-eaters had gotten ridiculous too. Mammoths wandered the tundra like living mountains, their tusks curved into ivory question marks that seemed to ask, "What exactly do you think you're going to do about this?" Giant ground sloths larger than modern elephants reared on their hind legs to strip leaves from trees, their claws leaving gouges in bark that would still be visible in fossil wood millions of years later. Your ancestors lived in this world. They woke up every morning knowing that hundreds of different creatures would happily turn them into breakfast, lunch, or a light afternoon snack. They were slower than the predators, weaker than the herbivores, and possessed of exactly one advantage in a world gone mad with size. They could think, but thinking only gets you so far when you're being chased by something with sabers for teeth and legs built for running down mastodons. Your ancestors needed tools, they needed weapons, they needed fire. Most of all, they needed each other. Early human groups were small, 20 or 30 individuals at most. They huddled together in caves during the long winters, sharing warmth and taking turns staying awake to watch for the yellow eyes that might be watching them from the darkness beyond their fires. They developed languages, but the most important words in any early human vocabulary were probably variations of run, hide, and oh no, not again. They made spears, but spears were only useful if you could get close enough to use them, which meant getting close enough for whatever you were hunting to use its much more impressive natural weapons on you. They developed strategies for hunting smaller game, animals more their own size, but the big game, the mammoths and the giant bison and the woolly rhinos, remained largely beyond their reach. Meanwhile, in another part of this oversized world, wolves were having their own problems. They had evolved into efficient pack hunters, with complex social structures and sophisticated communication. They could coordinate attacks, share kills and raise young cooperatively. But they were also limited. A wolf pack might take down a caribou or even a young mammoth if they were very lucky and very coordinated, but the largest prey remained dangerous gambles. One kick from a mammoth could shatter bones. One swipe from a cave bear could end everything. Even successful hunts often came with casualties that a pack could barely afford. Wolves were smart, but they weren't human smart. They couldn't make tools, couldn't control fire, couldn't develop complex strategies that extended beyond the immediate hunt. They had to rely on speed, strength, and numbers, and sometimes that wasn't enough. Two species, both successful in their own ways, both hitting the limits of what they could accomplish alone. The logical thing would have been competition. Humans and wolves should have been fighting over the same resources, the same territories, the same opportunities. Many did, in fact. There's archaeological evidence of human-wolf conflict throughout the Pleistocene. Bite marks on human bones, cut marks on wolf skulls. But sometimes, in the brutal mathematics of survival, the most logical solution isn't the one that evolution discovers. In the desperate search for an advantage, life finds partnerships where none should exist. The first meetings between humans and wolves probably weren't friendly. A pack of early humans return from a successful hunt of smaller game. They've managed to take down a few ptarmigan, maybe a small caribou if they were very lucky. It's enough food for a few days, enough to keep the tribe alive a little longer. And there, waiting at the edge of the firelight, are the wolves. 6 or 8 of them, yellow eyes reflecting the flames drawn by the smell of fresh meat. The humans grip their spears tighter. The wolves lower their heads, ears forward, calculating whether this small group of strange bipedal creatures represents threat or opportunity. This moment has played out thousands of times across the ancient world. Usually, it ends with one group backing down, the stronger forcing the weaker away from the food. Sometimes it ends in violence, in blood soaking into the frozen ground, and another small tragedy in the endless struggle for survival. But occasionally, rarely, something different happens. One species looks at another and sees not a competitor, but a potential partner. Two groups of intelligent hunters realize that their separate strengths might combine into something greater than either could achieve alone. The humans have tools, fire, and the ability to plan complex strategies. The wolves have speed, strength, and senses that can track prey across miles of wilderness. The humans can't catch what the wolves can find. The wolves can't kill what the humans can outsmart. Separately, each group faces the daily possibility of starvation. Together, they might just have a chance at something unprecedented in the history of life on Earth: dominance. But getting from suspicious strangers to trusted partners would require something that evolution had never attempted before. It would require two completely different species to learn to trust each other, to communicate with each other. It would require them to become, in every way that mattered, family. The question that would determine the fate of the Pleistocene world wasn't whether this partnership could work. The question was whether the world could survive it once it did. Because when two of evolution's most successful predators finally learned to hunt together, nothing would ever be the same again. The fire crackles in the mouth of Chauvet Cave, casting dancing shadows on walls that will one day be famous for their ancient art. But tonight, 32,000 years ago, those walls are bare stone, and the only art being created is the delicate choreography of survival happening just beyond the firelight. You're crouched behind a boulder, your hand gripping a flint knife so tightly your knuckles have gone white. Your breathing is carefully controlled, shallow and silent. 20 feet away, at the edge of your tribe's camp, something is watching. The wolf is magnificent in the way that truly dangerous things often are. Its coat is thick winter silver, marked with darker patterns that seem to shift in the flickering light. It's larger than the wolves from modern nature documentaries. This is a Pleistocene wolf, built for a world where size meant survival. Its shoulders reach nearly to your waist, and when it turns its head, you catch the glint of teeth designed for cracking mammoth bones. But it's the eyes that hold you frozen, yellow as winter sunlight, intelligent in a way that makes your skin crawl. The calculating gaze of something that's thinking, planning, weighing its options with the same careful consideration you might use when deciding whether to risk leaving the safety of the cave. The wolf has been there for an hour now, maybe longer. Your tribe killed a young bison earlier today. A good hunt, enough meat to last several days. And the smell has drawn every scavenger for miles. Most of them you've scared off with shouts and thrown stones. The hyenas retreated after one of your hunters put a spear through the shoulder of their pack leader. The giant ravens took their raucous complaints elsewhere when you built up the fire. But this wolf hasn't moved. It simply sits at the edge of the light, watching your people with the patience of something that has nowhere else to be. Occasionally it tilts its head, ears pricked forward as if listening to conversations it can't quite understand. Sometimes it seems to focus on individuals, the way your daughter plays with a carved bone toy, the way your hunting partner sharpens his spear, the way you keep glancing toward the darkness where you know it waits. Your tribe leader, a scarred veteran of countless hunts whose name will never be recorded in any history book, makes a decision that will echo through millennia. Instead of driving the wolf away, instead of treating it as just another threat to be eliminated, he does something unprecedented. He throws it a piece of meat, just a scrap of gristle and fat that would have been tossed into the fire anyway, the kind of leftover that has no value to human survival. The meat lands in the snow between the fire and the watching wolf. For a long moment, nothing happens. The wolf stares at the offering, then at the human who threw it, then back at the meat. You can almost see the calculations happening behind those yellow eyes. Is this a trap? A trick? An invitation to come close enough for spears to find their mark? But hunger, in the end, makes the decision. The wolf approaches with fluid caution, every muscle ready to flee at the first sign of aggression. It sniffs the meat, glances once more at the humans around the fire, then picks up the offering and retreats to a safe distance to eat. And that's it. That's the moment. The first conscious act of cooperation between human and wolf. One small piece of meat tossed across 30 feet of snow-covered ground, and the entire future of both species shifts like tectonic plates finding new arrangements. The wolf doesn't leave after finishing the meat. Instead, it settles into the snow at the very edge of the firelight, close enough to benefit from the warmth, but far enough to escape if needed. Its eyes reflect the flames as it watches your tribe's evening routines. Children play games with sticks and stones. Adults repair hunting equipment and tell stories of successful hunts. Someone begins singing a wordless melody that drifts across the ancient landscape like smoke. The wolf watches it all with the focused attention of a student trying to understand a complex lesson. And perhaps that's exactly what's happening. Perhaps this predator, faced with the strange behavior of these tool-using bipeds, is trying to decode patterns that might be useful for its own survival. Over the following nights, the wolf returns. Your tribe leader continues the strange new ritual of throwing scraps beyond the fire. Not every night, food is too precious for that, but often enough that the wolf begins to anticipate the gesture. It arrives earlier each evening, settles closer to the warmth. Sometimes other wolves appear at the edge of darkness, but they remain more cautious, more willing to retreat when humans move too quickly or speak too loudly. But this wolf, the first wolf, the one that started it all, begins to display behaviors that no human has ever seen before. It starts following your hunting parties at a distance, parallel to their movement, but never getting close enough to interfere. When your hunters return with game, the wolf appears shortly after, as if it somehow knows that successful hunts mean the possibility of shared food. Most remarkably, it begins to bring information. One morning, your hunters find the wolf waiting near the cave entrance, pacing restlessly and whining in a way that seems almost communicative. When they follow its line of sight, they discover a herd of reindeer grazing in a valley they hadn't known existed. The hunters make a successful kill, and that evening, the wolf receives not scraps, but a genuine portion of the meat. The pattern becomes clearer over the weeks that follow. The wolf's keen senses can detect prey that human eyes and noses miss entirely. It can follow tracks across terrain where human tracking skills fail. In return, the humans can make kills that would be impossible for a lone wolf. Their tools and coordinated strategies, allowing them to take down larger prey than any wolf pack could handle safely. But the most important exchange isn't meat or information, it's trust. Each successful interaction builds a foundation of mutual reliability that transcends the normal boundaries between species. The wolf learns that these strange creatures won't harm it as long as it follows certain unspoken rules. The humans learn that this predator can be an ally rather than a threat. Children begin to play closer to the wolf's resting spot, their parents no longer yanking them away in terror. The wolf, in turn, shows protective behaviours, positioning itself between the children and the darkness beyond the firelight. On cold nights, it moves closer to the fire, and the humans make room rather than driving it away. An understanding develops, wordless, instinctive, but real. Two species that evolution never intended to cooperate discover that their separate strengths can be combined into something more powerful than either could achieve alone. The humans provide tools, fire, and complex planning. The wolf provides tracking ability, early warning of danger, and the kind of fearless courage that comes from having nothing to lose. Other members of the wolf's pack begin to approach the human camp, drawn by their packmate's success and the reliable access to food. Some humans remain suspicious, spears ready whenever wolf shapes appear in the darkness. But your tribe leader, the one who threw that first piece of meat, continues to encourage the partnership, because he can see what others perhaps cannot yet understand. They're offering a trade agreement, their senses and strength in exchange for the humans' tools and strategic thinking, their loyalty in exchange for acceptance into the tribe's extended family. It's a bargain that will reshape the world, a partnership that will allow both species to spread across continents, to adapt to every possible environment, to become masters of a planet where they were once just struggling survivors, but standing there in the flickering firelight, watching wolf eyes reflect the dancing flames. Your tribe leader cannot possibly imagine the consequences of what he has begun. He cannot foresee the massive hunts that will drive entire species to extinction. He cannot envision the empty landscapes that will remain when the giants are gone. All he can see is the immediate reality. Winter is coming, food is scarce, and these strange new allies might be the difference between survival and starvation for the small band of humans he's sworn to protect. The wolf settles into the warm circle of firelight, and somewhere in that gesture, the future of the earth shifts forever. The morning air is sharp enough to cut glass, and your breath forms clouds that dissipate in the pale dawn light, filtering through the pine canopy. You're moving quietly through the forest. Padding silently beside you, their movements synchronized with yours in a way that still seems impossible. After months of this partnership are three wolves. You and your wolf companions have developed a hunting language that transcends species barriers. A raised hand means stop. A pointed finger indicates direction. A low whistle signals now. The wolves respond to these human gestures as naturally as they respond to their own pack communications. And you've learned their signals too. The way Frost, that's what your daughter named the silver wolf that first approached your fire, tilts her head when she catches a scent trail, how Storm, the darker male, positions his ears when he detects movement ahead, the subtle changes in posture that indicate whether they're tracking something worth pursuing, or just another false lead. You've been following Mammoth Sign for 2 days now. Not a full-grown bull, that would be suicide for your small hunting party, but a young female, maybe 7 feet at the shoulder, separated from the main herd by some unknown circumstance. Alone, she's vulnerable in ways that mammoth evolution never anticipated. The tracks in the mud show she's favouring her left rear leg, injured, possibly by a fall or a fight with another mammoth. In the harsh calculus of Pleistocene survival, her misfortune represents opportunity for your tribe. Enough meat to last months, enough fat to keep your fires burning through the deepest winter cold, enough hide to keep your families warm when the world turns white and deadly. But taking down a mammoth, even a young injured one, requires coordination beyond anything your species has ever attempted. It requires trust so complete that humans and wolves must think as one mind, move as one body, hunt as one perfectly synchronized organism. Your hunting party consists of 8 humans and 5 wolves. In the mathematics of evolution, this should be impossible. Predators don't cooperate across species lines. They compete, they fight, they establish dominance hierarchies that keep different species apart. What you're attempting violates every rule of natural behavior that has governed life on Earth for millions of years. But the rules, apparently, are more flexible than anyone imagined. Frost raises her head, ears pricked forward, nose testing the morning air. She's caught the scent. Fresh mammoth close enough that the wind carries the distinct musk of the great herbivore. You signal the hunting party to spread out into the formation you've practiced countless times around the evening fire. 2 humans move wide to the left, their wolf companions shadowing them through the underbrush. 2 more take the right flank, their canine partners already disappearing into the forest like grey ghosts. You and your remaining hunters position yourselves for the frontal assault, while the remaining wolves prepare for their most crucial role, the harassment that will keep the mammoth confused and unable to focus on any single threat. Through the trees ahead, you glimpse your target. She's smaller than you hoped, but larger than you feared. Still a massive creature whose tusks could gut a human with a casual toss of her great head. She's drinking from a stream, her injured leg held slightly off the ground, her trunk creating ripples in the water that catch the morning light. The attack begins with misdirection, just as it did with the cave bear. Storm appears at the edge of the clearing, moving just fast enough to catch the mammoth's attention, but not so fast as to trigger immediate flight. The great beast raises her head, water dripping from her trunk, and takes a step toward this new threat, which is exactly what you've been waiting for. That step puts her weight on the injured leg, and she stumbles slightly, just enough to confirm the weakness your party needs to exploit. You signal the attack. What happens next unfolds with the precision of a dance rehearsed in another lifetime. The left flank humans emerge from cover, their spears already in motion, aiming for the massive muscles of the mammoth's rear legs. The mammoth trumpets in pain and rage, spinning to face this new threat, but the wolves are already moving. 2 of them dart in from opposite sides, snapping at her heels, forcing her to pivot again just as the right flank makes their attack. Spears find their mark in her side, punching through the thick hide to wound but not kill. You're conducting a symphony of violence, and every instrument knows its part. The humans deliver the precision strikes that weaken and disable. The wolves provide the chaos and misdirection that prevent the mammoth from mounting an effective defense. Together, you've created a hunting machine more efficient than anything evolution has ever produced through natural selection alone. The mammoth tries to charge, but Storm appears directly in her path, snarling and snapping, while frost circles behind to nip at her heels. Confused by threats from multiple directions, unable to focus her massive strength on any single enemy, the great beast turns in circles, her injured leg buckling further with each movement. The killing blow comes from your own spear, thrust upward into the soft tissue beneath the mammoth's chin where her thick hide offers less protection. It takes 4 humans pulling together to drive the stone point deep enough to find the major blood vessels. The mammoth staggers, blood frothing from her mouth, and slowly topples to the forest floor, with a crash that sends birds exploding from the canopy. In the sudden silence that follows, you and your companions stand panting in the morning air, surrounded by enough meat to feed your tribe for months. The wolves pad closer, their work done, their partnership with your kind proven once again in the most fundamental way possible. You killed together, and now you'll eat together. Over the following months, this partnership spreads throughout your tribe and beyond. Other human groups, witnessing the success of your joint hunts, begin their own tentative experiments in cross-species cooperation. Not all succeed. Trust between natural enemies isn't built overnight, and many early attempts end in bloodshed or failure. But enough succeed that a new pattern emerges across the human populations of Europe and Asia. The wolves benefit as much as the humans from this arrangement. Access to regular meat from large kills means wolf pups have higher survival rates. The protection of human camps with their fires and weapons means wolf families face fewer threats from other predators. And the human's ability to plan complex hunts opens up prey animals that would normally be beyond wolf capabilities. But perhaps more importantly, both species begin to change in fundamental ways. The wolves that work most successfully with humans tend to be those with more flexible social behaviours, better communication skills, and greater tolerance for the strange ways of their bipedal partners. Over generations, these traits become more common in the wolf populations that live alongside human tribes. The humans, meanwhile, develop better understanding of animal behaviour, improve tracking skills, and more sophisticated coordination techniques. They learn to read wolf body language as fluently as they read human expressions. They develop new hunting strategies that take advantage of their wolves' superior senses and speed. Your daughter, now a young woman, can communicate with the wolf pack using a combination of gestures, whistles, and what can only be described as a primitive form of interspecies language. She knows each wolf's personality, its preferences, its strengths and weaknesses. The wolves in turn respond to her commands with the same reliability they once reserved only for their pack leaders. This is domestication in its earliest form, but it's mutual domestication. The wolves are becoming more dog-like, true, but the humans are becoming more wolf-like as well. Both species are adapting to each other, creating a partnership that transcends the normal boundaries of evolution. The results are visible in the archaeological record. Human settlements from this period show evidence of much more sophisticated hunting techniques, larger and more frequent kills, and the bones of prey animals that should have been beyond the capabilities of small human groups. Mammoth kill sites show evidence of coordinated attacks that could only have been accomplished through the kind of interspecies cooperation your tribe has pioneered. But with success comes an unexpected consequence. The partnership between humans and wolves is so effective, so devastatingly efficient at hunting large prey, that it begins to outstrip the natural replacement rate of the great herbivores. Mammoth herds, once vast, begin to dwindle under the pressure of coordinated human-wolf attacks. Giant bison, which survived previous ice ages, find themselves unable to cope with predators that combine human intelligence with wolf persistence. Standing over the carcass of that first mammoth kill, sharing meat with your wolf partners in the morning light, you cannot possibly foresee the consequences of what you've accomplished. You cannot know that this hunting technique will spread across continents, that it will make humans the most successful predators in the history of the planet, and that it will ultimately drive dozens of species to extinction. All you know is that your children will eat well tonight, and that the wolves who helped make this possible will eat well too. All you can see is the immediate triumph of cooperation over competition, of intelligence over brute force, of partnership over the solitary struggle that has defined life since the beginning of time. The bond forged in these hunts will outlast the Ice Age, outlast the megafauna, outlast the very landscape in which it was born. It will become the foundation for human civilization itself, the partnership that allows your species to spread to every corner of the earth. But even your greatest friends cannot save the giants forever, and in the ashes of what's coming, both humans and wolves will discover that some victories come with prices too terrible to imagine. 20,000 years ago, the ice sheet stretches before you like a frozen ocean, its surface broken by pressure ridges that rise like crystal mountain ranges toward a sky so blue it hurts to look at directly. The wind carries scents from 100 miles away, mammoth herds moving across distant valleys, the musk of bison gathered around thermal springs, the sharp tang of caribou crossing frozen rivers in their endless migrations. Your tribe has grown from that small band huddled around fires in French caves to something unprecedented in human history, a true civilization of hunters. Your summer camps sprawl across acres of ground with specialized areas for tool making, hide processing, meat storage, and the raising of children who will never know the desperate hunger that defined their grandparents' lives. And everywhere among your people, threading through your camps like grey shadows made solid, are the wolves. Except they're not quite wolves anymore, are they? Generations of partnership have begun to reshape them in subtle but unmistakable ways. Their ears are softer, their muzzles slightly shorter, their coats showing colour variations that wild wolves never display. Some have developed the ability to bark, a sound no wild wolf makes, but one that proves useful for communication with their human partners. Your hunting parties now number in the dozens. 30 humans working in coordination with 20 or more of these proto-dogs, moving across the landscape like a perfectly coordinated army. You've developed techniques that would make modern military strategists weep with envy. The results speak for themselves. Your people wear clothes of mammoth hide and saber-tooth fur. Your tools are carved from the ivory of creatures that stood taller than modern elephants. Your children play with toys made from the bones of giants. You've become the apex predators of the Pleistocene world, and it shows in every aspect of your culture. The cave paintings your artists create don't depict the desperate struggles of early hunting efforts. Instead, they show confident humans and their canine partners surrounding massive prey with the casual efficiency of assembly line workers. The mammoths in these paintings look almost resigned to their fate, as if they understand that resistance is futile against this new kind of predator. Your shamans tell stories of the old days, when humans were prey and the great beasts ruled the world. But these stories feel like myths now, like tales from a different planet. It's hard to imagine your ancestors cowering in caves when your current hunting parties return home with enough meat to feed hundreds of people for weeks. The partnership with your canine allies has evolved far beyond simple cooperation. You've developed a shared culture, a hybrid way of life that incorporates elements from both species. Your children learn to howl before they learn to speak. Your wolves understand human pointing gestures better than many humans understand wolf body language. Some of your people can track by scent almost as effectively as their four-legged partners, while some of your dogs have learned to use simple tools, carrying spear shafts, retrieving specific items on command, even participating in tool making by holding objects steady while humans work on them. But perhaps the most remarkable development is the emergence of specialised roles within your hunting parties. Some wolves have become scouts, ranging far ahead to locate prey and report back with information about herd size, direction of movement, and the presence of particularly vulnerable individuals. Others have specialised in crowd control, using their intimidating presence to keep panicked herbivores moving in desired directions. Still others have become finishers, trained to deliver killing bites to specific vulnerable points on different prey species. Your human hunters have specialised too. Some focus on long-range attacks with spears and slings, softening up targets before the main assault. Others specialise in close-quarters combat, wielding clubs and axes designed to deliver crippling blows to massive limbs. Your best coordinators have become hunt leaders, orchestrating complex multi-day operations that can take down entire family groups of mammoths or giant ground sloths. The efficiency is breathtaking. Every part of every kill gets used. Meat for food, bones for tools, hide for clothing and shelter, fat for fuel and waterproofing. Nothing goes to waste because waste is a luxury your ancestors could never afford, and old habits die hard even in times of plenty. Your success has allowed population growth that would have been impossible for earlier human groups. Your tribe now numbers in the hundreds, and you're not alone. Similar human-dog partnerships have developed across Europe, Asia, and the Americas. The archaeological record of this period reads like a catalogue of victories. Kill sites, containing the remains of dozens of mammoths, all bearing the distinctive cut marks that indicate systematic butchering by human tools. Bone middens where the remains of giant cave bears, saber-toothed cats and dire wolves pile up like testimony to human dominance. Tool caches filled with implements carved from ivory and horn, the raw materials provided by creatures that once ruled the landscape. Your territory has expanded from a few caves to vast hunting ranges that span entire river systems. Your seasonal migrations follow the great herds, but now it's the herds that adjust their movements to avoid your hunting parties rather than the other way around. Some mammoth groups have developed new behaviours, posting sentries, avoiding certain areas entirely, altering their traditional migration routes to reduce contact with humans. But these adaptations come too late and prove inadequate against the hunting machine you've created. The winter camps of this golden age are marvels of prehistoric engineering. Structures built from mammoth bones and mammoth hide, heated by fires burning mammoth fat, defended by palisades of mammoth tusks. Your people sleep on beds of cave bear fur, eat from bowls carved from giant ground sloth skulls, and play music on flutes made from the leg bones of animals that will never be seen again. Your children grow up surrounded by abundance that would seem magical to their great-grandparents. They've never experienced the gnawing hunger of a failed hunt, or the desperate cold of a winter without adequate fuel. They take for granted access to materials and resources that represent the accumulated wealth of an entire ecosystem. But abundance, you're beginning to discover, creates its own problems. With food no longer a constant concern, your people have time to develop new technologies, new strategies, new ambitions. Some of your hunters talk about crossing the great ice bridges to explore new continents. Others experiment with more efficient killing techniques, better ways to process larger numbers of carcasses, improved methods for preserving meat across longer periods. Your dogs too have continued to evolve. Some have grown larger and more powerful, better suited for bringing down massive prey. Others have become smaller and more agile, perfect for harassing and confusing animals during complex hunts. A few have developed almost supernatural abilities to predict animal behaviour, anticipating the movements of prey with accuracy that seems to border on prescience. Standing on that ice sheet surrounded by your hunting party and your canine partners, surveying a landscape that belongs entirely to your kind, You represent the pinnacle of Pleistocene predatory evolution. You are faster than the pure wolves, smarter than the pure humans, more deadly than any creature that has ever walked the earth. But there's something you haven't noticed yet. Something that won't become apparent until it's far too late to change course. The landscape around you is emptier than it was even 5 years ago. The mammoth herds are smaller, the giant bison less numerous, the cave bear territories more sparsely occupied. Your hunting parties have to travel farther to find suitable prey, and the kills, while still successful, require more effort to locate and execute. You interpret this as natural variation, the normal ebb and flow of animal populations that your ancestors learned to navigate. But what you're actually witnessing is something unprecedented in natural history. The systematic elimination of an entire ecosystem by a predator, too successful for its own good. The golden age of human-dog partnership is about to give way to something far more complex and troubling. Your greatest triumph is becoming your greatest catastrophe, and neither you nor your four-legged allies can see the cliff edge that lies just ahead. The mammoth calf is alone. This shouldn't be possible. Mammoth mothers are devoted parents, and mammoth herds are protective communities where calves are guarded by multiple adults at all times. A solitary young mammoth represents either a tragedy or an opportunity, depending on your perspective. From where you crouch in the tall grass, watching through the morning mist, it looks very much like opportunity. But something feels wrong about this hunt before it even begins. The calf is perhaps 3 years old, still dependent on its mother's milk, but large enough to survive on its own if necessary. It stands motionless in a meadow that should be filled with the sounds of a living ecosystem, birdsong, insect buzzing, the rustle of small mammals moving through the underbrush. Instead, there's only silence. Where is everything? Where are the giant ground sloths that should be stripping bark from the scattered trees? Where are the herds of horses and bison that should be grazing these rich grasslands? Where are the saber-toothed cats and dire wolves that should be competing with your hunting party for access to this isolated prey? You realize with growing unease that you can't remember. The great cats that once forced your hunting parties to post guards and defend their kills have simply vanished. Gradually, quietly, like snow melting in spring. One season they were there, the next they were gone, and somehow no one noticed the transition. The mammoth calf raises its trunk and calls, a high, plaintive sound that should bring its mother thundering to its defense. But no answering call echoes across the meadow. The silence stretches on, broken only by the whisper of your dog's shifting position in the grass. Your hunting party surrounds the calf with practiced efficiency. This should be easy. A single young animal with no adults to protect it, no herd to confuse your coordinated attack. But as your people and their canine partners close in, the calf doesn't run. It doesn't fight. It simply stands there, trunk hanging limp, as if it has given up before the hunt even begins. The kill is swift and clean. Your people have had decades to perfect their techniques, and a solitary calf poses no real challenge. But as you stand over the small carcass dividing the meat among your hunting party, the wrongness of the situation settles over you like a cold fog. This isn't how mammoths behave. These aren't the circumstances under which healthy ecosystems operate. Something fundamental has shifted in the world around you, and for the first time since your people began their partnership with wolves, you're beginning to suspect that your success might be connected to these troubling changes. Over the following months, the pattern becomes impossible to ignore. Hunts that should be difficult become almost routine. Prey animals that should be wary and aggressive instead seem listless, defeated. The great herds that once darkened the horizon with their numbers have dwindled to scattered family groups. Even these smaller gatherings seem unstable. breaking apart at the first sign of human presence rather than mounting the fierce defences that characterised their ancestors. Your shamans begin having disturbing dreams, visions of empty landscapes where the wind blows through meadows that no longer support the great herds, nightmares of silent forests where no mammoth trumpeting echoes between the trees. They speak of spiritual imbalance, of taking too much from the world without giving enough back. But the practical concerns are more immediate. Your hunting parties are travelling farther and farther to find suitable prey. Territories that once supported multiple human groups now barely provide enough resources for one. Competition between human tribes is increasing as the great animals become scarce, leading to conflicts that would have been unnecessary in the abundant years. Your dogs are changing too, though in ways that take time to recognise. The largest and most aggressive breeds, the ones specialised for bringing down massive prey, are becoming restless and difficult to manage. Some have begun hunting independently, forming feral packs that compete with their former human partners. Others seem depressed, listless, as if they sense that their partnership with humans has somehow lost its purpose. But perhaps the most disturbing development is what's happening to your people themselves. Generations of abundance have created humans who expect success in every hunt, who take for granted access to resources that are becoming increasingly precious. When hunts fail, something that rarely happened during the golden years, the disappointment turns to anger, then to desperation. Some hunting parties begin taking unnecessary risks, pursuing prey into dangerous terrain, or attacking animals that should be left alone to breed. Others turn to increasingly aggressive tactics, using fire to drive entire herds over cliffs or into bogs where they can be slaughtered wholesale rather than selectively hunted. The mathematics of extinction are brutally simple, though your people don't yet understand them. Every species has a minimum viable population below which recovery becomes impossible. Environmental pressures, genetic bottlenecks, and simple bad luck can push numbers below this threshold, creating a downward spiral toward oblivion. Your hunting success has pushed dozens of species past their tipping points. The giant ground sloths, with their slow reproduction and specialized diets, were among the first to disappear. The cave bears, dependent on specific cave systems for hibernation, couldn't adapt quickly enough to human competition for territory. The saber-toothed cats, apex predators themselves, found their prey base eliminated by human hunting efficiency. Each extinction creates cascading effects throughout the ecosystem. When the giant browsers disappear, forest composition changes. When the massive grazers vanish, grasslands transform into scrubland. When the great predators go extinct, smaller animals lose their natural population controls and either explode in numbers or crash due to overgrazing. Your people are witnessing the collapse of the Pleistocene ecosystem, but they interpret it through the lens of their own immediate concerns. Hunts are harder because the animals have grown smarter. Prey is scarcer because the seasons have changed. The landscape feels empty because your people have grown soft from too many years of easy living. But your dogs know better. Their senses are sharper, their connection to the natural world more immediate. They can smell the absence of species that should be present. They can hear the silence where complex soundscapes should exist. They understand, in ways that human rationalization can't deny, that something irreversible has happened to the world. Some of your canine partners begin to display behaviors that seem almost like mourning. They return to places where great herds once gathered, whining and pacing as if searching for something that can no longer be found. They show less enthusiasm for hunts, going through the motions of their specialized roles without the fierce joy that once characterized their participation. The climate is changing too, though. Whether this is cause or consequence of the disappearing megafauna remains unclear. The great ice sheets are retreating, altering weather patterns and transforming landscapes that supported mammoth steppe ecosystems for hundreds of thousands of years. Forests are expanding into areas that were once open grasslands. But even accounting for climate change, the scale and speed of the extinction suggests something unprecedented is occurring. Species that survived multiple ice ages, that adapted to dramatic environmental shifts over millions of years, are disappearing within human lifespans. Standing in that silent meadow where the mammoth calf made its final stand, you begin to understand the magnitude of what your people have accomplished. The partnership with wolves that seemed like such a triumph, such a perfect solution to the challenges of Pleistocene survival, has created something monstrous in its efficiency. You have become too good at killing. Your alliance with wolves has produced a predator so effective that it's consuming the very foundations of its own existence. The golden age of human-dog cooperation is ending. The giants are falling one by one, and for the first time since your ancestors first shared meat with wolves around ancient fires, your people are beginning to understand that some victories carry prices too terrible to calculate. But understanding and stopping are very different things. Your children need food, your tribe needs resources, your dogs need purpose. The machine of extinction, once started, proves almost impossible to stop, and in the growing silence of empty landscapes, both humans and their canine partners will discover that the end of abundance is just the beginning of a new and far more difficult chapter in their shared story. Sleep well tonight, knowing that curled up in homes across the world are the descendants of creatures that helped reshape the entire planet. The wolves that once stalked mammoth herds through frozen valleys now sleep on sofas and play fetch in suburban parks. But look closely into their eyes, those same amber depths that once reflected firelight in ancient caves, and you'll see something that no amount of domestication has ever fully erased.